Good morning to everybody. How you doing? Hope all's well. Keep up the beautiful work. Today is Friday, Parashat Yitro, and it is very cold outside. It's going to be very cold this evening, but I'm sure everyone we know is going to go to synagogue. They're going to go to shul, Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, and be safe, be healthy, and everything good. Be'ezrat Hashem, as we mentioned the past couple days, the entire world was created just for this Parashat Yitro, for Am Yisrael to get the Torah and to learn the Torah. It is the Torah that is holding up the world, as we know, Torah, Avodah, and Gemilut, Hasadim. We also know that Hashem created the world in a fashion that when it's daytime here, it's evening in Eretz Yisrael. When it's evening here, it's daytime there, because there has to be learning Torah in the world 24/7. Since creation, there was not 1 second without Torah learning somehow, some way in the world. And because of that, that's why the world is continuing. But if everyone would go to sleep at the same time, then it's possible that about 3 a.m. or 4 a.m., well, people are already getting up 4 a.m., 4 a.m. bagels. Also, the kids are up. I'm sure they're learning in Mammoth Bagel when they get there at 4 a.m. Now that they pushed it off to 5 a.m., they have an extra hour of learning. We're learning the Pele Yoetz. We're in the letter Chet in the subject of Hatan. We are on page Resh Nun Gimal 253 in the Hebrew book and the Hebrew English Art Scroll, Volume 2. We are on page 257 varieties of learning and understanding in the holy words of the rabbi this fine morning. Umatzinu, we found Gidolei Olam, great rabbis, Shahayu Merakidim Lifnei Kala, like we said yesterday, that they used to dance in front of the Kala, Lefi Shelo Haya Bahem Yesahara. Wow. How could a rabbi dance in front of a Kala? Because the rabbis back then were powerhouses and they did not have a Yesahara at that moment, right? But otherwise not recommended today for a rabbi or anyone to dance in front of the Kala. V'ata lo nitna reshut litarev anashim v'nashim. There's no mixed dancing. Afilu b'shat mita, even by a funeral, Hashem shall watch us all. Has v'shalom. If they're sitting together, you have people that they have desires and their imagination goes pretty wild. Even at a funeral, Shema Yisrael, kol sheken be dan hedva. How much more so at a time of rejoicing by a wedding? Shem yeh tarovet anashim v'nashim. If there's mixed dancing, men and women, hasatan meraked benehem v'nafik churba. Guess who's dancing with them? Good old Yeser Hara. He's there and it's Xmas for him. And from that, God forbid, a calamity could happen. Shema. V'simcha letugaya afoch has v'halila v'has. And happiness could turn into sadness, God forbid, 1,000,000 times. Has v'shalom. Ela Hatan yoshev ben anashim. The Hatan stays on the side of the men. V'akala ben anashim. And the bride on the side of the women. V'yirau elu em elu. Without seeing each other. Sometimes they lift them both higher than the mehitza and they give a little wave to one another, maybe a little road rage style. V'amru, they said about one of the most wicked women on earth. That was before the Democrats in Congress and Speaker of the Houses, not to mention any names, of course. However, there was a Jewish king who was wicked. Oh boy, was he wicked, unfortunately. And of course, we know he married out of faith, and he married a queen. Her name was Isabel. In Hebrew, Izevel. Zevel is bale, is garbage. And Isabel, she was so wicked, Eliyahu Navi cursed her that the dogs should eat the flesh off of her body. If you're eating breakfast now, recommended to pause the breakfast for a moment. After she dies, she will get punished and the dogs will eat the flesh off of her body. Do not try this at home. Hashem shall watch us all. However, when the dogs came. The dogs did not eat her hands from the wrist to the tip of the fingers, and her feet from the ankles to the tip of her toes, and her head from the tippy top of her head to the chinny chin. Why did that? And the rest of the body, Shema Yisrael. Why did that happen? That her hands, her head, and her feet were not eaten? Because in the old days, the bride and groom were escorted in the streets, and there was music, and everyone's dancing and singing, and she walked out of the palace, and she clapped her hands, and she moved her feet, and she bobbed her head, and because she used her feet, and her hands, and her head to be misameach Hatan and Kala, to make a Hatan and Kala happy, so the dogs, even though Hashem listens to what a Sadiq says, Sadiq gozer Hashem mekayem, Eliyahu Hanavi said it's going to happen, and it happened to her whole body, but those three parts, just clapping and walking towards the Hatan and Kala and bopping ahead, protected those body parts. How much more so everyone that we know, everyone is good, everyone learns, everyone follows the law, they're going to classes, men, women, and children, God bless. Imagine the reward for clapping and bopping for a Hatan and Kala. לפי שהייתה יוצאת לקראת כלה, או מרקדת, או מטפחת לפניה, and she would clap. ולכן כל אדם יקל מעט בכבודו לכבוד שמיים. Some people say, you think I'm going to sit there clapping? What am I, a hazi case? Right? Do they know who I am? You are Ruhi. It's a beautiful thing. You have to belittle yourself a little more in order to make a Hatan. It doesn't mean to be silly. It doesn't mean to be degrading. But of course, we have to do our part to make a Hatan and Kala happy. V'yismach Hatan v'Kala. Ubazeh yismach be'osav v'yeshev b'chila. By doing that, guess what? Those will do it for you, as we know, and you will be celebrated as well. You will celebrate in other people's parties. We'll see in the next paragraph, Bezat Hashem, for the next class, we know David HaMelech would dance for the Torah, and one of his wives were looking like she was a little embarrassed. Look how he's dancing for the Torah. And right after that, it says in the Avi, she never had children. And our rabbis tell us it's because she mocked in her mind her husband dancing for the Torah. And we know they asked Chacham Batya Yosef, Alav Shalom, they asked his father to be Yaakov. They said, what did you do to merit a son like that? And he was known to dance and sing in front of Hatan and Kala, and he also was known to dance on Simchat Torah in front of the Torah. And because he gave honor to the Torah, Hole Mole, did he get a son that learns the Torah. So the next time you meet someone from Wisconsin that doesn't want to dance by a wedding, just tell him to get a little into it. And Bezrat Hashem, by being Mesameach Hatan and Kala, everyone will have beracha. Hope everyone has the greatest day. Shabbat Shalom, B'sorot Tovot, Yeshuot V'Nehamot.